This episode is an inquiry into healing. It's also a look behind the curtain into an intuitive photo reading with me. We are the Plumb Collective, and this is a universal message for the collective. Welcome to the Plumb Podcast. This is a podcast for possibility.
We begin from a unique starting point, and the conversation unfolds from there. We express authentically, and we create the space for you to do the same.
Hi, I'm Rosalee.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Plumb Collective. The message you are about to hear, I received by looking at a photo of another person. All of the identifying details have been removed for privacy. The collective universal message remains. This is a conversation, even though you will only hear me speaking. Everything that you are about to hear was not written down, was not planned out. It was off the cuff, in the moment, in the energy of the reading, speaking from my heart, from my intuition. When I'm receiving a message for a client, it feels like an existential telephone call. I'm asking questions, I'm receiving answers. I'm also asking questions that are for you to wonder about. I'm connecting to one particular person. It's important to them and it's important to me. And it feels like if all of us listen into this phone call, it's important for everybody to hear.
When I first listened to this conversation, I listened to it all the way through once, and I just let the message wash over me. I felt like I wasn't actually taking in any individual sentence or individual concept, but I was like steeping in it. I could feel that it was powerful and that it had done something to me to hear it like that, even though I couldn't have repeated it back or summarized it for someone else. Then I spent more time with the message, pausing when a question felt really interesting to me, taking notes, and even doing some journaling to explore the concepts for myself. The message is simple. It's not complicated, and it's profound. Sometimes when we hear profound sentences that are constructed simply with words that we know, it feels difficult to grasp the meaning because it is simple and profound.
If you want to take this universal message and bring it into your own life and have it be meaningful for you, it might require more of you to listen differently, to spend time wondering and questioning, listening to your answers to the questions that I'm asking, to allow the sentences to spark your imagination and your intuition. When I look at a photo of someone during a photo reading, I immediately receive a lot of information. I don't try to put together all of it at once. I just write down starting points. My notebook page looks like chicken scratch. Nothing is fully formed and written out. They're prompts, they're notes for me to remember all of the sensations that I receive in an instant when I look at your photo. When I begin recording the audio message to you, I often don't look at my notebook for very long. I will look at a word or a phrase and then I look up and I just start talking to you. What you're about to hear is me going off on a tangent, really speaking from my heart, speaking an inspiring message, something that really feels like love. At the end, I say, oh, I'm going to go back to my notebook page. When I heard this message back for the first time, it sounded like something that I had been writing for years. These are concepts, the understanding of energetics that I have been exploring for my whole life and reading people and putting things together so it sounds planned out because it's embodied. I've been living it. I believe it. I know it. I feel the sensations and I give language to the sensations.
If you are interested in this starting point in having an intuitive photo reading done by Rosalee for you, where Rosalee can look at a photo of you and feel specific messages come forward from your energy, you can head over to our website and check out the section on Plumb Point Intuitive Photo Readings, and you can book a reading there. We hope you enjoy this conversation and that it gives you a new perspective on healing.
What is healing to you? What does it look like? How would it feel? What are your current expectations and beliefs about healing? What do you think in this current moment that you would experience if you were healed? I say this with love. This is encouragement, a pep talk, a redirection, me pointing to things that you could define for yourself. For me, the word heal was very bold. And when a word feels bold to me, it's my signal to look it up in the dictionary. It's like, what are we even talking about when it comes to the question, will I be able to heal my childhood trauma? If you're asking me, the human being, Rosalee, what's your opinion? You ask me the question, will I be able to heal my childhood trauma? My answer is yes, you already are. You're in the process of healing. You've been healing. It's not an end point where one day you will just be fully healed and you can just stop. To me, healing is integration, and integration is an ongoing process. Our energy is always in flow. There's movement to the energy. If you're breathing and your heart is beating, there's opportunity for healing. It's going to continue. There isn't a set end point or an end date or a grand opening day where everything is just different and I'm a new person. I've moved on or I've moved past my childhood trauma. That isn't how it works. And so really connecting to the expectation of what you believe healing is and what it means. If you want to borrow my shorthand definition for healing, you can have it, you can take it. And it really is, healing is integration. Healing is allowing ourselves to feel whatever we feel in the moment, being gentle with ourselves, and integrating what has happened into our experience so we have the capacity to hold the trauma and also joy and feeling good and allowing ourselves to have the things that we want, enjoying our lives and having the sensory experience with our lives. I think trauma dissociates us from our sensations and from our body a lot of the time. Being able to reconnect and experience our sensations and experience our life from an internal perspective, not thinking about our life from somebody else's perspective. You're the main character in your life. Sometimes, oftentimes, when we've experienced childhood trauma especially, we are telling the story from an ensemble cast, or we're trying to make sure everybody's perspective, or we're trying not to make it about me or be the victim, or all these phrases that really piss me off and are annoying because it's just false. It's just fraudulent. And yet people talk about it like that all the time. So it perpetuates this cycle of false beliefs and expectations about healing and about what it looks like to be in the process of healing. And instead, people get on TikTok all the time and say, well, I'm healed. As soon as I hear that, I go, okay, you are not. That is a signal to me that you are not, that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Because it's not over. It's not in the past tense. It's a current, ongoing, always going to be in motion, fluctuating, incremental, moment-to-moment shift feeling. Really asking yourself, what is healing to you? What does it look like? And how would it feel? Like, how would you know if you're making progress in your healing journey? What are your current expectations and beliefs about it? Allowing yourself to be really honest, because you might have some expectations and beliefs currently that after examining and questioning and listening and after this reading that you might go, You know, yeah, I had some expectations that were maybe a little unrealistic, or that were that grand opening day, or that I'm just going to be transformed into a totally different human being, or that I'm going to move beyond the things that happened to me and leave them behind. But they happened. Those experiences did impact you. They did change things in you. It sucks. I wish that you didn't have childhood trauma to heal from. I believe you, and you're not alone. There are ways that we can tell the story to ourselves about what happened that can shift how we experience ourselves and our inner dialogue and what we feel that we're capable of. We can expand our capacity to be with what happened and not be dysregulated by it, because we claim and take ownership of the storytelling of what happened. It's not erasing it. It's not pretending it didn't happen. It's not leaving it in the past or getting over it or moving on from it. It's really allowing ourselves to feel whatever we feel about it whenever we feel something about it, and not giving a time limit or boxing ourselves into being a particular way for the rest of our lives. Acknowledging that things are going to come up, things that we think, how could this possibly be connected? Or why is this bothering me? Why am I upset about this? I should be over this, or I have healed further than this. It's really shifting your perspective and your mindset around what healing could be. Healing doesn't have to be hard, and feeling your feelings can be fun. You can connect to yourself and expand your connection with yourself, getting to know who you are through the things that happened and looking at them from these different perspectives, like witnessing yourself and seeing, oh, I'm still here. I'm stronger than I give myself credit for. I protect myself more than I give myself credit for. I am harder on myself and harder on my healing journey than maybe I need to be. And maybe it's possible to approach healing with a lighthearted and light-handed approach, because thinking about childhood trauma that you've experienced in your childhood, it's like, okay, part of that feels like a robbery, robbing innocence, robbing childhood experiences where we should have been allowed to be carefree and kids and play and imagination and all of these things. Okay, then why do we as adults get so serious around healing and think that we have to do it a certain way, or that it needs to look a certain way, or we need to feel a certain way about it, or we need to do these different steps and then it will be done, will be healed, it'll be over. We get really serious, and it's trauma is serious. I'm not discounting that, but it's like connecting to those parts that were injured in childhood and trying to be serious with them versus thinking about play and connection. If we wanted to have a child trust us, to be comfortable to tell us what happened to them, there's trust that needs to be developed, and also fun. A kid is not going to want to tell some fuddy-duddy, some serious, mean, tough, hard on you, you should be over this by now meanie. They're not going to want to share what happened to them and share what they need to feel better. Inquiry about healing also is an exploration into your childhood desires and wants. What did you like when you were a kid? And maybe there weren't that many moments that you had that were fun or lighthearted, or where you could play, or where it wasn't hard. But did you dream? Did you have expectations? What did you want, and do you still want some of those things? When there is this injury, if we break a bone, there are procedures, steps that we need to take to heal that particular injury, versus if we have an infection. There's different procedures and things to follow, and things that help it and things that would make it worse or not impact it at all. If we're approaching healing from this adult perspective, we might be treating the injury with something that isn't effective. Learning from the source, getting the information from those childhood memories and childhood versions of you that had feelings in the moment that were probably really big and hard to feel in those moments. When we expand our capacity as an adult to be with those experiences and tell ourselves those stories from our perspective, we allow those little versions of us, all the ages we ever were, all of our inner children, to have a voice and to say, this is what happened, this is how I felt about it, and this is what I need to feel better about it. Getting into communication with the different ages throughout your childhood to hear what they need and what they want and what the expectation is to feel better. And some of it might seem silly. Some of it might seem, how could that possibly help this particular situation? I believe in you. I believe that you can trust those nudges. You have done a lot of the adult healing process. And to get into a sensory, more lighthearted, light-handed approach to healing feels like you will absolutely be able to heal your childhood trauma. It shifts doubt to, that makes sense. That feels true. That just is reasonable to expect. That connecting to my childhood trauma through my childhood desires and through my sensations and through my feelings, and building trust so that those memories can be revealed not in a way that re-traumatizes you, but in a way that shows you, guides you to what's needed to restore the particular thing that occurred, what's needed for that, and not just treating everything the same. I'm using the broken bone and an infection. We can't treat both of those things the same way. They need specialized attention and specific care. I feel my own experience with my life, and then reading photos for people and working with people through shifting these things, connecting to themselves and their healing in this way. I believe it. I feel it's true. I trust my feelings and those nudges to lead me to the thing. And I'm interested. I'm willing. I am curious to explore. I'm going to go back to my notebook page. I would love to read for you and share with you the messages that are important for you to hear. I love photo reading so much. I love connecting to your energy. I love sharing with you the specifics that make a difference for you.
If you'd like to experience a Plumb Point intuitive photo reading for yourself, you can check out our website at theplumbcollective.com, and Plumb is spelled with a B, Plumb, and we'll also include a direct link in the show notes or description box below. This episode of the Plumb podcast is now complete. You had the opportunity to witness and receive a universal collective message. We hope it inspired you. Our reflections provide a mirror that can guide you incrementally toward getting to know yourself more fully. You can come back to this recording of the Plumb podcast anytime. The recording will be the same, but you will be different, and therefore you will have a different experience. You might hear something new. You might connect to yourself in a different way. Tune in next week for a new episode of the Plumb podcast.
In part 2, we go into, okay, but how? How do we take these redefined expectations and ideas about healing and have that make a difference in our lives? Tune into part 2 to explore the how.
The conversation will be different, but we will always express ourselves authentically, and we create the space for you to do the same.